WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station.
It's time, man! The stage is set!
Welcome.
Welcome home, baby. I like this kind of party!
Putting the fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah!
Each and every weekday morning, the Pat and Aaron Show.
Is it a little too early for being that loud?
Good Morning Tampa Bay.
And here we go.
Now your hosts, Pat Donovan and Aaron Jacobson.
Good morning, goons. Welcome to the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Coming to you live on a New Year's Eve Tuesday morning. We won't even go Game of Thrones and Taco Tuesday. No room for shame today. We're not shaming anyone. We're just having a good time. Aaron Jacobson, we know he's having a good time. He's in New York to see Fish. Rock Riley is with me in studio again this morning as we wrap up 2024, the last show of the year. I always like doing the last show of the year, Rock.
Yeah.
It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't realize T. Kraz was off right now completely until I saw the text line this morning. People were like, "Hey, where's our guy? Where's T. Kraz?" Well, he's out until next year. So
Till next year.
yeah,
Next year. You always used to do that. No, Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
yes,
It's always kind of cool. Everybody, you look forward to the next year, and hopefully the next year is better than this past year. And I hope everybody has good health. And if you're not, hang tough, man. That's the number one thing. And, of course, hopefully.
Hang tough.
Hang tough?
Is that the New Kids on the Block song?
I'm not sure, Pat. I'm not a New Kids on the Block expert.
I wasn't either.
But
My wife was.
Aaron was probably, you think? Maybe?
No,
Was he a boy band boy?
No. Well, see,
Aaron,
I could totally see getting into boy bands a little bit. Although he's more of like a classic rock kind of guy.
Okay.
He likes jam bands. Like he's going to see Fish, right?
Right.
But I could see him getting into boy band-esque stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows a little bit about the boy bands from his day. But remember, the kid's, 34?
Right.
So New Kids on the Block was way before his time. New Kids on the Block when I was a kid, right? That's why my wife loves New Kids on the Block. But I don't think Aaron would know about them. I can't believe we started the show with New Kids on the Block.
All right. Well, what is the one? He lives in Ruskin. He's a big Bucks fan. Nick Carter.
Nick
Backstreet
Carter.
Boys. Okay. To show you how long I've been around, when we were over at Gandy Boulevard,
I miss
and I was
Gandy.
outside, and they used to have all the salespeople that were there before everybody worked from home.
They're back, by the way.
Are they back?
They're back.
Okay, that's great. That is good. Good.
No more home stuff for these guys. They got to be here dealing with us knuckleheads.
So I was over on not the entrance where everybody goes in, but on the side entrance where the sales people would come in. And I'm just outside, and these young kids come by, and Nick Carter was wearing a Bucks jersey.
He loves the Bucks.
And I said, "Who's that?" And they said, "Oh, they're an up and coming this boy band. They're from around here. They're going to be Orlando. They're going to be big."
So this is before they were.
Backstreet Boys. Before they were big, they were going on FLZ. That's how long ago.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that even Aaron is too young to even be in their heyday.
Backstreet Boys might be a little later than New Kids on the Block, so he might be in the. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron knows a lot of Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
So we're remembering 2024 today, but I'm going to tell us.
Boy band stuff.
I'm going to tell a story that's a little older than 2024.
Okay, I'm ready.
Speaking of Nick Carter and being a big Buccaneer fan, our good friend Mark Cook, who we miss very dearly.
The late, great Peter Reports, Mark Cook.
Yeah, he was amazing, and we miss him quite a bit. When Mark Cook obviously formed a relationship with Nick Carter.
He did.
And would go to Backstreet Boys shows and would talk about how much he loved the Backstreet Boys and Nick Carter. And I would bust his balls about it. I would bust his balls about it relentlessly sometimes, right? About being a boy band fan and loving the Backstreet Boys. So we did a show one time. I can't remember how it came together, but they threw together a show with myself and Mark Cook, and I believe Trevor Sycamore might have been there as well. I'm not 100% sure, but it was definitely me and Mark Cook, and I believe another person. And Mark Cook the whole day said he had a surprise for me. And at the end of the show, towards the end of the show, we get this caller on the guest line, and they don't tell me who it is. And I'm like, all right, we got this guest. Let's see what's going on. And this guy goes, so, Pat, I heard you don't like my music. And it was Nick Carter. And I was like, it's
Did
not,
you know right away?
not my
Or did
thing.
you kind of, was it surreal? Did you kind of think, let me see, is this real? Were you thinking that? Or did you?
It took a minute for me to realize who it was.
I bet.
I knew it was real because Mark Cook was good friends with him, And I told him, like, I'm not really a boy band guy. I'm sure you're a great guy. And then he told me how he's more of a metal guy himself. And
Get out of here.
Invited him to Rock Fest because, of course, I was doing the 98 Rock thing at the time. But yes, Mark Cook surprised me with a Nick Carter phone call.
That's an awesome story. He honestly
ago.
was a huge Buccaneer fan.
No, he is.
Huge.
I think he still is.
There's some big names like Tracy McGrady. I'm sure you knew. No, not Tracy McGrady.
No, it's Vince Carter. Listen, if you're a Carter, you're a Buccaneer fan.
Maybe that's
We've
it.
locked in the Carters on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No, but Vince Carter, I have run into in the tunnel outside of the Buccaneers locker room because he'll hang out there, and he obviously knows some of the players because if you're a Buccaneer player, you want to meet Vince Carter. Like, the guy was an all-time great NBA player.
Did he want to just talk Bucks, or if you saw him? That's what I heard. Like, if you do see him, he doesn't want to talk NBA.
I mean, listen, we didn't have a conversation. It was very much, hey, how you doing?
Gotcha.
Nice to meet you. I didn't stop and talk. Listen, I understand. I try to read the room. Not always the best at it, but when Vince Carter is in the tunnel outside of the Buccaneers locker room, it's because he's psyched to talk to some of the Bucs players.
There you
Not
go.
some knucklehead radio guy.
See, you're aware. Some people aren't aware.
Well, some people are not at all aware, right? And listen, again, I'm not at the top of the awareness list, okay? I do stuff that a lot of people turn their side, look at me sideways for. I don't really care, but I'm not top of the awareness list. But I'm aware enough to know when Vince Carter is at a Buccaneer game, he ain't there for me, right? and if I stop him long enough, to try to talk to him about anything, he's gonna be like, all right, bud. Like, he might be nice enough to do it, but he ain't there for me. We've had the same thing. We've had a couple of guys that from time to time that will show up at Bucs practice during training camp, and it's like, you want to bug them, but at the same time, they're there to meet the play.
Good man.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
That does drive me crazy where some people are just not aware, man.
Former Mets player that came to Bucs camp one time, psyched to meet. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was.
Greatest story. Greatest story ever. Early years when I'm here.
Better than George Brett pooping himself story?
I don't know that one.
Oh, my God.
I don't know.
This being a year-end show, we might have to sneak that in.
Might as well. Okay. Buccaneers, back in the day when I just got here, 1994, I'm at 970 WFLA. I'm covering the Bucs. It's after a game. It's at the old Sombrero, and it's in the locker room. And I'm in the locker room, and I'm going around, and I look down, and there's a guy that...
How small was the locker room in the old Sombrero? Because even the old locker room at Ray J was tiny.
Oh,
dude.
No, it was bigger than
that.
When they first built Ray J, that's the only thing. That locker room was so small that the Buccaneers had. Now USF uses that. But no. The one in the Sombrero, no, that was kind of big.
Bigger.
That was kind of big.
You couldn't be at the back of the pile. When there was a pile around a player, you couldn't be at the back trying to shove your microphone in, because if you were at the back, you were getting dudes coming out of the shower just rubbing up against you because there was no room. There was no room to get by. So naked, wet, fat dudes.
Too much. I don't want to know that much. That's uncomfortable. No. That part I do not like. Anyway, so I look down, and there's a guy that's picking up like the tape and socks and the dirty clothes and putting it in. I look down, and I went, Hojo? Howard Johnson. And he looks up at me, and he went like, keep it quiet, man. And I said, okay, I got you. I said, you are a huge Bucs fan. He goes, uh-huh. He was that big of a Buccaneer fan. Howard Johnson, that played for the Mets, grew up in Clearwater, Florida, loved the Bucs that much, was doing that just to be there in the locker room. How about that story?
It's crazy, and you've told it to me before.
Did I?
And I love you for bringing it up now. honestly, because I've tried to recite that story and I've like forgotten part of it, and I'm like, I couldn't remember where I had heard that story.
See, I got anhydrous, so I forget what I said.
Yeah, it might have been Hojo that I saw at training camp practice that day as well.
Maybe, could be. What's the Brett? What's the pooping story?
You know what? Here's what we have to do.
Okay.
This is going to take a little work on Casey Warner's behalf. But Casey, I need you to find it. It's on YouTube. But you're going to have to edit You're going to have to edit the audio. This is going to be a record and edit situation, because let's just say Brett does not say
the S word.
He does not say, George Brett does not say I pooped myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he said he says the other one. The big
I know what you're talking about.
The big dog would say I spit myself, right? So listen, that, even though we're reviewing 2024, all right, that is one of my absolutely favorite stories of all time. George Brett explaining his situation that, let's be honest, a lot of us have dealt with at some point in our lives. Maybe not to the extent that George Brett did. All right. One of the greatest baseball players ever. Also one of the greatest storytellers ever. This is one of my favorite stories ever.
It really is.
I'm not going to lie. I don't have it yet, but I'm not going to lie to you. That happens more times than not over here in the penalty box than you would think. Like, it comes close. Like, when I have to stay in here and I have to, like, hit the break or whatever.
Don't. Just tell us.
I know. No, I do. Trust me. Like, I do more than you know, but I don't even bring it up. But it's like, it happens very quickly.
Really?
Yeah. Nature calls, man.
Listen, man,
you know?
you're only 27. If you're already getting that, you're in trouble.
It's that metabolism I was telling you about earlier. It's like I eat something and it goes straight through me, man.
Oh, boy. Yeah, be careful.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, y'all.
This is the show. It's good. Listen. This is a New Year's Eve show. This is what you're going to get. We do have a question for you today, though.
Okay, what is the question?
Do you New Year's resolution? And what is your New Year's resolution if you have one? If you want to jump aboard, we're just hanging out and partying today.
Good.
888-546-4620. You can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line. That's 82945. Message and data rates may apply. We are here. We are live this morning. I see your text from last night. We've got live radio for you this morning. Also at noon, we've got actually, I shouldn't say at noon. Noon is the kickoff of the Rely Quest Bowl.
Right.
Our coverage begins at 10 a.m.
Nick Wise?
Chris Mathis. 10 a.m. live from Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. And listen, Nick knows his college football. It's going to be a great pregame show starting at 10 a.m.
Michigan Wolverines.
Oh yeah,
there.
Oh yeah. He likes his Michigan Wolverines. He is psyched. He texted the whole group last night. You know, everybody involved with the broadcast, from our engineer Jason Floyd to myself and TJ Reeves, and kind of everybody else that would be there, about, hey, if you need just great leadership. If you need anything, let me know what you need. I'll have all this stuff for you.
He's kicking ass, man.
Also, Go Blue. He finished it up with Go Blue. So he's not pretending to be unbiased this morning, which I appreciate. I never pretend to be unbiased either. But 888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard during the show. You can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line. It is 82945. Message and data rates may apply. Start your text with DAE, like I did the other day. I texted Rock and Aaron when they were on the air about
that was good. He knew
one of the stories you were telling.
He goes, I think that might be Pat, but he wasn't sure. We went to a break. He was studying it. He went to his thing. You had him going, man.
All right, it's time for today's top headlines.
back to the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Top headlines.
Time for today's top headlines, brought to you by Mark Spain Real Estate. Casey Warner. By the way, Casey found my favorite George Brett story.
Great. Good job, Casey.
I forgot just how colorful the language is.
Oh, boy.
So it's going to take him probably the next commercial break or so.
The end of the show. By the end of the show.
We'll have
when you get a homework assignment, by the end of the show, if he can get it done.
We'll have it very soon, but it is going to take him a few minutes to bleep out a handful of George Brett's words. I forgot how descriptive he was about the next morning. Yeah.
Are we in Safe Harbor? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure, but here's what I don't do. I don't test it. Like, there's words we could get away with today that we couldn't have 10, 20 years ago. I'm still not trying it. I think I push the envelope probably as much as anybody at the station when it comes to language. But we're definitely not going to play.
Okay.
And there's not
understand.
There's not just the SH. There's
really?
quite a few there's quite a few F-bombs from George Brett as well. Very well placed within the story. They really emphasize just how incredible a night he had one
Colorful.
night in Las Vegas. We'll get to that story in a little bit, but it is time for today's top headlines on the Pat and Aaron Show. Again, brought to you by Mark Spain Real Estate. Mr. Warner.
Yeah, first things first, Lions 49ers last night in what ended up being a very entertaining game. Heading into the game, some were questioning whether Dan Campbell, and he was even questioning himself whether he would play his starters in this game, but he sure enough played them, and Jared Goff showed out once again. He went 26 of 34 with 303 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, leading the Lions to a 40-34 win over the 49ers. The 49ers dropped to 6-10, and the Lions go to 14-2, setting up that division NFC North showdown next week between them and the Vikings for that number 1 seed and the division crown.
I mean, you rarely see a division title go to the final day like this, but to have that top seed as well.
It's Monday night, right? Monday Night Football.
Yeah. No, I think it's Sunday night.
There's no Monday the last week.
Yeah, nobody plays on Monday night in the final week.
It was a night game. Gotcha.
They want to make sure everybody's done by Sunday night so they can get the playoffs with nobody being at a disadvantage. Even though they create the disadvantage for someone with a Monday night game within the playoffs, they don't want to do it leading into the playoffs.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a disadvantage. If you got a short week to prepare for a playoff game.
Damn.
If you win that Monday nighter, as the Bucs did last season.
But there's so much money.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I get it.
Involved.
I get it. But that is it's going to set up a really interesting game next Sunday night. I'm excited that the Bucs are on at 1 o'clock, which means I get home just a little bit before the Sunday nighter begins. So I'll be able to sit down and watch that one, at least till I conk out again.
I know there's so many scenarios, but it looks like the loser of that will come here to play the Buccaneers. Very, very good chance.
A 14-win team. Isn't that crazy?
I know.
Wow.
I know. Hey, that's how it goes.
Listen,
man.
It is.
That's how it goes. Whatever. It's a new season. Once it's the playoffs, it's a new season, man.
And you could feel like it's unfair for the Buccaneers to have to play a team with a record that much better in the playoffs.
But
imagine how
they get a home game, man.
Exactly.
Boom.
Imagine how that team feels having won all those games, and then they have to go on the road to start the playoffs. They should feel like they're losing out more than the Bucs fans should.
Yeah, that was a good game last night, and that's going to set up an even better game for that NFC North showdown next week. Now, in that game last night, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck always doing a great job on the call for ESPN. Troy Aikman made a little, maybe controversial statement about the MVP race. And
How controversial can you get about the MVP
I mean,
race?
Here's what he said. He said, no disrespect to anyone in the year they've had, but if I had a vote, it would go to Joe Burrow, who recently revealed that Burrow might already be his favorite player of all time. So, of course, that might be a little biased take there from Troy Aikman. But what say you all? Do you think Joe Burrow has an argument for MVP this year?
I think what's much more fascinating is what makes Joe Burrow Troy Aikman's favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I love Joe Burrow. I think the kid's a great young quarterback.
But it's all year. It's all year, and they were not good in the beginning of the year. You know what I'm saying? He's been ungodly the last, 5-6 games.
They're not even going to make the playoffs.
Probably not.
You're going to give the MVP to a guy that leads a team that does not make the playoffs? I think it's hard to do.
You going with Josh Allen or
probably? I for some reason the MVP conversation, it's like all-star votes. Like I
You're concentrating on
I don't
playoffs
care
and
that
teams.
much. You know what I mean? Like, someone's going to win the MVP, and they're going to deserve it, and there are going to be other guys that don't, who probably deserve it too. But I'm not like, somebody's always like, oh, this guy got snubbed, and they want to go on a hill and die for this guy who didn't get an MVP or a Pro Bowl vote. It just doesn't matter. Like, who wins the games? I don't.
Gotcha.
The superlative stuff, it's just not important to me.
What about Casey Warner? I'm just curious. Casey, who you got?
I was thinking Josh Allen was a shoo-in up to his, most as recent as last week. But, I mean, how can you deny what Lamar Jackson has done this season? I mean, 40 touchdown passes, that little interceptions, the rushing yards. And, I mean, he's got the Ravens right there for the division crown again. And it's, for me, I'd have to go Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I thought it was Josh Allen, but it's got to be Lamar Jackson.
You know what I also find more fascinating than who is the MVP this year is if you look at Lamar Jackson, who won the MVP last year, and his numbers last year, it was almost identical numbers to the numbers that Lamar Jackson put up in an MVP season a season ago.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's up there too.
His numbers are that good?
Almost identical numbers to the numbers that Lamar Jackson put up in his MVP season last year.
Rookie. Unbelievable.
Kid is special, man.
My God. And the Commanders are going to be good for a long time.
As long as that kid's around, if he doesn't get dinged up, there's always that risk when you've got a quarterback who is a weapon. It's what scares me about having a quarterback who is a weapon is that you're one hit away from never being the same player again. But as long as he stays, and he seems to be really aware on the football field and does not take a lot of big hits, the way he even though he's a weapon, I mean, he had just set the rookie record for rushing yards as a quarterback. He does a really good, from what I've seen, does a really good job of not taking big hits, but it only takes one.
Yeah. No, that's true. And the current odds for the NFL MVP, if you're wondering, -300, Josh Allen up there on top. Lamar Jackson as low as +225. Joe Burrow as low as +1,600. Saquon Barkley as low as +1,600. And then Jared Goff as low as +8,000. That's today's top headlines.
All right, good job. Goff,
I'll tell you what.
He's dangerous, man. Right?
He deserves, and again, I don't get real wrapped up in the MVP stuff. But I think Goff deserves a lot more credit than he gets for how good that Lions team is. We talked about what Baker Mayfield did this week, having as many touchdown passes as incomplete passes. We've had that conversation 2 or 3 or 4 times with Jared Goff this season. I mean, the kid is just playing incredible football. I think it was the guy from ESPN, former Lions quarterback. I always lose his name.
Dan Orlovsky.
Thank you. Dan Orlovsky. He tweeted out a picture of Goff, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold. And he was like, I thought you guys told me that Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold suck. Not necessarily in that order. I don't know what order he put them in, but he was making the point that, hey, everybody said these guys are terrible, and look at their 3 of the better quarterbacks this season as far as the performances they're putting up.
Do you hear Gruden? Gruden he goes, I hate the Carolina Panthers. You had Baker Mayfield. You had Sam Darnold. How you think they're feeling right now? I'm sorry. I'm in Tampa Bay. I've been in the NFC South. I hate the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
That's Chucky. But no, I did see the picture of both of those guys in the Carolina Panthers uniform.
Yeah, I saw that floating around.
It was coming up. Yeah. Orlovsky's done a pretty good job. Some people, you know what? You got to have strong takes. You're going to have some detractors. I've had some people, I can't stand them. But bottom line, I think he does a pretty good job.
Some of his takes drive me crazy, but overall, he does a very good job. Yeah. Especially for ESPN. There's some Looney Tunes on there. He does a pretty good. And what I love about Orlovsky is how honest he is. He was on one day, and the girl who was leading the segment said, all right, well, we got to get back to the NBA. And as soon as she said that, he kind of rolled his eyes. And I saw it, and I went, whoa. So I videotaped my TV of him rolling his eyes, and I tweeted it out, and I go, look, even Orlovsky's tired of how much NBA they're talking on ESPN, and he retweeted it. He retweeted it. I couldn't believe. I was like, "Wow,
that's awesome! Congratulations,
that's ballsy." All right, when we return, we've got a lot more to get to on this New Year's Eve. We'll look at some of the biggest stories in sports all year long. We'll see if Casey Warner's got through with his homework project. If not, we'll get to that in a little bit. the George Brett story that I can't wait to share with Rock Riley, who has not heard it. One of the greatest stories in the history of baseball. It has nothing to do with baseball, but George Brett, I always loved him as a player, and now I love him even more as a man after hearing this story. But first, someone's going to love you even more as a man if you do the right thing and you ring in the new year with our friends at International Diamond Center. Here's the exciting news right now. Right now through New Year's Eve, which, by the way, everybody, that's today.
Get going.
Today.
Get going, guys.
All right. So basically today, not right now through New Year's Eve, today, you can still get that stunning piece of jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest and 0 down. Virtually everything in the store is included. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, you name it. All the gifts that women love every day of the year. But hurry up. This offer ends today, and it's not going to be extended. So come in right now. And again, 5 years, 0 interest. You can get that $6,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $100 a month. Or that $3,000 pair of that $3,000 diamond eternity band, I should say, just $50 a month. And if you're planning on popping the question, they've got you covered with a great selection of ready-to-wear diamond rings starting as low as $800 a month. So say goodbye to 2024 and start off the new year with the ultimate and timeless symbol of love, a diamond from International Diamond Center. You can get finance offer details, store hours, and locations at shopidc.com. You can find IDC in Tampa, Clearwater, Lakeland, and Sarasota. All right, when we return, we'll look at the biggest stories in 20.
95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Pat Aaron Show. Aaron is in New York for a little fish action for New Year's Eve. I don't know how many shows he's seeing, but he's seen at least the one tonight, I'm sure.
I thought you were saying he was fishing. I'm like, what, the Hudson River?
No, Fish the Band. For all you hippies or sort of hippies. I don't even know anymore. I know the guy from Fish used to be on all the stuff, and now he's like totally sober. So I always feel like musicians, once they go.
One reddish hair?
Once they, I don't know. I don't know what he looks like.
He was in front of me one time, BWI airport checking in.
The Fish guy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Low-key.
Was he on drugs?
Totally by himself. No, totally by himself, man. Yeah, there you go. You
thought he'd have an entourage?
Yeah, maybe, but not that type of band. No.
888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard. You can also text your thoughts to 82945. Message and data rates may apply. By the way, J.C. Allen has joined us at 8:30 most Thursdays throughout the season. He's going to join us today at 8:30, as he will for the rest of the Buccaneers season, because Thursdays, the 8 o'clock hour, is now tied up. We, of course, have had Wechter Wednesdays forever. We won't tomorrow because it's New Year's Day and we're all off. And by the way, congratulations to Doug's son for committing to FSU.
He's going to be a stud, a right-handed pitcher, and Doug said he's ahead of what he was.
No doubt about it.
To major leagues, from Jesuit going to FSU.
But Aaron will be back on Thursday for New Year's Day, and Thursday will be again. We always have Wechter Wednesdays. We now to start the new year, we will introduce Dignitary Thursdays, as we will have our very good friend Ian Beckles in with us every Thursday. For
Canadian bacon?
Yeah.
Nice.
So that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be on Thursday. But because of that, J.C. Allen joins us today at 8:30. But what were your favorite sports stories? What, in your opinion, were the biggest sports stories of 2024? 888-546-4620, or text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line 82945. Message and data rates may apply. I think when I look back, and anybody listening will know I am unbiased when I say this, because I did not get wrapped up in the hype for women's basketball and Caitlin Clark. But I think it's hard to argue that she wasn't as big, if not the biggest story in all of sports this year.
Nationally, internet, yes. And for young girls and all the attention that college basketball on the women's side got.
Yeah.
And then also the WNBA, and then those that were jealous and the way she handled everything. I would say nationally, yes. But for me, Pat, locally, it is the Rays Stadium, the Hurricane. The Rays got to go now to play at Steinbrenner Field at a minor league park, and the heat. I mean, it's just blowing me away, and really not totally 100% resolved. It looks like we're getting close. I don't know, and the way the Rays and all that, the uncertainty. For me, that was the biggest story in Tampa Bay. I
think it's neck and neck.
What else? What else you got?
Here's what I'd say. That is the biggest story and the most important story in Tampa Bay. What's going to happen with the Rays Stadium, what did happen to Tropicana Field, and the kind of yuck that's been the relationship between the Rays and St. Petersburg and the Pinellas County Commission.
And fans, like that. Too, and poor fans. You know?
Well, we're just kind of stuck in the middle, right? I feel like it's like almost like two parents, where you might feel like one is more at fault than the other. But at the end of the day, you just want them to make up and figure it out.
That's a good analogy. That's a good way to put it.
You just want to live with your two parents, and we just want to live with a baseball team in our backyard. And like at the end of the day, we don't care that much who's at fault. We just want you to figure it out and get your bleep together. Okay? Mom, Dad, Pinellas, Rays, like figure it out. But that is the most, you're not wrong. That is the most important story in Tampa Bay sports. However, I will argue that because of some of the reaction I see to that story, which is just kind of like, and I don't feel this way because I'm very invested in the Rays staying here. But I do see enough of a reaction from our listeners, whether it be on social media or the text line or phone calls, that are like, I'm over it. And I kind of just don't care until they figure it out. Between that faction of Tampa Bay fans that are just kind of over it until they figure it out, and the fact that this is and always will be a football town that looks at football first always. And I'm the same way. Again, so I'm not criticizing that. I'm the same way. I said yesterday, I love the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not watching the NHL if you put it on a Sunday afternoon. There's somebody very angry with me yesterday for that comment. But
no, I don't.
But I'm the same way. I am always for football first, and I always will be.
You're honest.
And I think because so much of this area is that Baker Mayfield, his continued success, the fact that he has even outperformed last season when he had the best year of his career, Baker Mayfield and the way that he has taken over for Tom Brady and the continuation of that story is kind of neck and neck with the Trop, even though it's not nearly as important.
That is a good one. But I put at number one to me, how I judge it, Pat, is when people come up to me, whether it's Publix or a neighbor or maybe at the gym, and they don't really say that much about, hey, Baker Mayfield. Now, if we're talking Buccaneers, yes. One guy came up to me, he goes, he gives you everything they got. I was like, yeah, no, I get it. But one of my neighbors was walking his dog the other day, and the Rays thing, it was just, he goes, we had the agreement. We had it. It was a done deal. I just can't. And it just disgust and unhappiness felt like losing, as a fan. You know what I mean? I'm like, I get it.
It's a good point because it is one of the things people ask me about most. And
where are the Rays going to play? What's going to happen, man?
Locally and nationally, right? I do a lot of national hits around the country on different radio stations where they bring me on to talk about football.
Same thing.
They bring me on to talk about the Bucs. They bring me on to talk about.
They always hit that in the end, right?
Yep.
I got to ask you about the Rays Stadium issue. Got to be.
Yeah, it comes up all the time. Even though I'll get people will reach out. Hey, can you break down the Bucs game? Hey, can you talk? Because there are some that I still do where they just ask me to talk NFL football. Because I wrote for Steven Kyler for a little while, and he set up different stations around the country that would have me on, and some of them still do, and they'll ask me to talk about the league in general, not just the Buccaneers.
Pat Donovan NFL, wasn't that your handle, man?
For a little while, yeah.
Pat Donovan NFL.
So even on those interviews where they're bringing me in, and they'll mention that I do Bucs radio and stuff like that, but even those when they're bringing me in, a lot of times to talk NFL football, at some point during the conversation, it'll be like, oh, by the way, the hell's going on with the stadium?
Same thing.
And I always say, God, I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
Look at this. Couple of Lightning fans.
Yeah.
Vinnick selling part of the Lightning. Okay. Steven frickin' Stamkos. That was a very, very big story.
I think Keith's point, Ohtani is another good one that we're going to get to today. Somebody texted that in. Mm-hmm. But I think Keith's point about Jeffrey Vinnick selling part of the Lightning, and by the way, the majority of the Lightning, he's going to run the team for a few years, but overall, he has sold the majority of that.
It worries me.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't worry me that much.
It worries me a little bit.
It doesn't worry me that much because of Jeffrey Vinnick, because of how much I trust Jeffrey Vinnick, and I don't think he was going to just bring anybody in here to take over the Lightning. He's not going to bring in a couple of jackwagons like the guys who owned the team before he did.
The Cowboys.
Yeah,
that's what they were called.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but he wasn't going to bring those knuckleheads in. So I have a lot of trust in what's going to happen here with those two guys.
I hope you're right, because Pat, how many times have you been with either a radio station or a company and it's new ownership, and it's always like there's not going to be a lot of changes, it's going to be better, and it usually isn't. I hope you are.
I've actually spent most of my career here, so I haven't done a hack. So. Again, the place down the street that you and I both had some experience, that was under one ownership while I was there.
That is unusual.
And then obviously iHeart has not changed since I've been here, not ownership-wise.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of changes. Not ownership-wise, but there's a change here and there.
But honestly, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because the Lightning, not only as an on-ice product, but overall, ESPN? They were voted number one franchise in all of sports in North America.
And they deserved it. And they deserved it. It is a great organization. All right, when we return, we've got more on the top stories in sports, and Casey Warner done with his homework project.
I'm
going to share my favorite all-time George Brett story, or I'm going to let him share it with Rock Riley, because some of you, I'm sure, have heard it. You'll enjoy listening to it again. Rock Riley has not heard it. It's something a lot of us have gone through, and George Brett
DAE and AM 620.
A good point by Sincerely Guy on the Bartow 4DA text line. Said, Pat, you left out the part about Vinnick passing out bonuses upon selling part of his team. Contrast that with the Rays. And, we know what's going on with the Rays. And I know you hate Stu Sternberg. I get it. I understand why people
tell fans that might not be aware of that story of what Jeff Vinnick did.
Yeah.
To full-time employees.
He gave out massive bonuses to a lot. I don't remember what the number was.
Like a year's salary for anybody that is full-time.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And some people are paying off their houses, cars. Isn't that what owner does that in what business? I've never heard of that.
For a lot of those people and for a schmuck like me, that would be life-changing money. Life-changing money. Yeah, unbelievable. Jeffrey Vinnick and everything he's done. Speaking of unbelievable, and we'll get to more of the top stories in sports this year as we wrap up 2024 here on the Pat and Aaron Show. Rock Riley in for Aaron Jacobson today. But I mentioned this story to Rock. It's one I thought he may have heard because for me, it's like a classic. It's one of those I'll never. It's right up there with my favorite Tom Moore story about talking about Peyton Manning and saying if 18 goes down, we're effed and we don't practice effed.
I thought about that yesterday.
Yeah,
and I was laughing.
This is right up there for me. This is George Brett talking about an interesting night he had with some editing. So there might be some parts that are like you're kind of having trouble keeping up because Casey had to cut some spots out because there's like he's on the mound on the field talking to somebody at practice one day, and you can't catch everything. But the stuff that you can catch, well, this is magic.
Part of
The left side.
pants last night. I did. Went out and had a great meal, just a great meal. I had to go to the bathroom so bad in the car. I'm going, Trow, hurry up, man. I got to I my pants. I'm good twice a year for that. When was the last time you your pants? Yeah. Been a while?
It's been a long time.
I was in Vegas a couple years ago. This is an honest-to-God true story. Staying at the Bellagio. I went over to the Mirage for dinner, met some friends of mine over there. Went to Kokomo's, a great little steakhouse. The guy brings out some fresh crab legs. These just came in, I got to give them to you guys. I'm eating them. Then we go play gamble a little bit. Then I have a tea time early in the morning. So I said, look, I got to get going. I'm walking back to the hotel. I get 3/4 of the way out of the lobby, and all of a sudden I go, oh, and I'm standing here like this. I got my butt pinched so I can't move. All of a sudden, felt all right. I went just like this. Water.
No way.
I had some food poisoning from the crabs. Take off my leather jacket,
Hey, other side.
tied it around my waist, and I'm just standing there, and it's just running down my leg. I got jeans on, black bucks, no socks, and I just start walking. Every time I'm walking, something's coming out. It's water, straight water. Then, to show you how sick I was, then I'm standing outside, and I get on my cell phone, and I call the guy. I said, Larry, you won't believe this. I'm standing outside the Bellagio. I can't move. I got everywhere. All over myself. And Larry's about a 48 waist. So he brings me over a pair of pants and some towels. And so he comes over and he meets me where I tell him where I'm standing. He finds the closest bathroom. When you go up the escalator, you go into I can't get in the elevator.
But you're on now. You lose. Baseball.
So he goes in, he finds the closest bathroom in the lobby of the hotel, and then I get in the escalator, and he kind of pretends like he dropped something so no one gets behind me, tells me where it is. I go in there, he goes and gets the towel all wet for me, throws it over the wall. I take off all my clothes, just wipe off, leave my shoes, left my shoes, my pants, everything right there, the towels right there in the stall, and I'm walking barefoot with my shirt and his pants that are 48 waist through the lobby like this at midnight. Got up in the morning, took the most perfect double tapered I've ever had in my life. True story.
True story.
Who's the pitchers in this game?
That's my favorite. He goes from the story about crapping all over himself right into woke up the next morning, took the most perfect double tapered bleep. By the way, Rock, do you know what the most perfect double tapered poop is?
No.
I don't know what that is.
I have an idea.
What's double tapered mean?
I think it's when you think it's over, but then it starts again.
I don't know that that's what it means.
That is so baseball,
it's
though.
tapered. I don't know.
You can hear the catcher's mitt and you can hear them ball, and that's baseball. There's so much downtime and talking. You wonder what they're talking about on the field. You think it's baseball and strategy. No, it's not at all.
George Brett. I mean,
now, was he talking to a reporter? Or was he just mic'd up?
No, he's talking to another player.
I was thinking so.
Or
He was,
coach or something.
He was probably mic'd up for the day. You think?
He must have been.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is hysterical.
But it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. It was at like spring training. You know.
Got you.
I love. He says, "When's the last time?" The guy's like, "It's been a while." He goes, "I'm good for twice a year." And listen, the older you get, everything happens to people. Sometimes, my wife's going, "Yeah, I know." Not to her though, just to her husband. Sometimes. Love you, honey. All right, so we were talking about the top stories of 2024. We mentioned Caitlin Clark. Rock, I got a lot of flack for this take this year, but I thought Caitlin Clark and her ascension to the WNBA and the way that was covered, it reeked of NASCAR to me. And what that means...
What do you mean?
What that means, Rock, is a handful of years ago, when NASCAR got to its peak, its hottest, everyone told me, watch out. NASCAR is it. It's taken over. It's going to pass your stick and ball sports. It's going to be bigger than conventional sports. Everyone loves NASCAR now, and it is the next big thing. And I went, I don't know. And you know what? It hasn't gone very well since then for NASCAR. Their popularity has gone
way down.
Way down. And I don't know why that is. Maybe ESPN is less invested, and we know that they're the mothership, as Dan Patrick loves to call them, and they certainly push the needle for things. But I just didn't buy the hype that NASCAR was going to be. Same thing with soccer. All of a sudden, everyone told me soccer was going to be this great. And I know there are places where they really do, Portland and stuff, where they do great numbers for soccer. But overall, has it become this massive thing in this country like people told me it was going to? No. And I think the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, that whole storyline, it's the same thing. And I know right now she's getting ready to have her number retired at Iowa. And the ticket sales for that game are going bonkers, like $1,000 for a ticket for a game she's not even playing in. So I'm not saying it's gone away, but I think it will. I think it's a storyline that people want to feel good about. But at the end of the day, are more people really going to be invested in the WNBA? Like a lot more? I don't believe it.
Did you see what Cam Newton said 2 days ago?
I'm sure it was more ridiculous than what I just said.
The WNBA in 10 years will surpass Major League Baseball for interest.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Cam Newton, 10 years. Bigger than baseball, MLB,
yeah.
WNBA, which I don't agree.
Did he say
now look, baseball
how recently he had gotten high?
You should see the comments after that. He looks like a girl, and look at his.
He looks like a
look at his dress and this and that. Blah 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 blah.
Don't listen to the guy who's wearing a bonnet. Okay, how many times have we seen Cam Newton in a bonnet? Of course, he loves the WNBA with his bonnet. Now, like I said, I'll be honest with you. I like Cam Newton more than most.
Yeah, I think you told the story. Didn't you meet him and you changed your mind? It was down in Bradenton or something?
It wasn't really that it changed my mind because I never hated Cam Newton. But we went to Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie's celebrity basketball game. And this is at the peak of Cam Newton. This is off of an MVP and being one of the best players in the league. He was certainly the biggest name there at the time. And like Edgerrin James was there. There was a lot of like pros in the building, but nobody was bigger at the time than Cam Newton. And he was the first guy out on the court. By the way, no kind of security around him. Mm-hmm. I grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him over for an interview. Go, come here, you're coming to talk to me. And he ended up telling me it was a Versace because I asked him about his very fancy shirt. Didn't care that I grabbed him by his shirt. Didn't care that I was like, come here, you're doing an interview. Was unbelievably nice and was the first guy out on the court signing autographs, talking to all the kids, all the people that were coming up to him. Again,
right, well, that's
didn't
good to
have
hear. That's
didn't
good
have
to hear.
security around him all night. Was just there to hang out and have a good time. And to me, came across like a genuinely, really fantastic human being. There's a lot of things he said that I look at him and I'm like, dude, what the hell? And like the bonnet is weird. And so, like some of his clothes, but like at the end of the day, my interaction with him was extremely positive.
There you go.
Extremely positive.
A good story.
All right, we've got a lot of extremely positive to come up. We'll talk more about 2024 and some of the big stories around sports.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, this is our New Year's Eve party.
Yeah.
Pat Donovan, Rock Riley, in for Aaron Jacobson. This is 95.
radio station.
Hour number 2 of the Pat Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Rock Riley in for Aaron Jacobson today as we wrap up 2024. And very interesting point on the Bartow Ford DAE text line.
There's some good ones there.
Some always interesting ones. Sincerely, guy says that just superseded the George Brett story. That is the Pine Tar story in my book. I would agree as well. If you missed that, you can always listen back on the podcast later today. Casey Warner always gets everything up very quickly, so you'll be able to listen to the first hour again. We wrap up that first hour with that amazing story from George Brett. Also, I always love, there's some people that cannot talk about anything without bringing politics into it. It doesn't matter what it is. Somebody listened to the George Brett story and was thinking about politics. I don't know how, but I promise you, there's somebody in their car that was like, bet Joe Biden poops himself. On the Bartow 4D8 text line. And this, I try to be balanced, Rock Riley.
Yes, you do.
Which is why when there was a recent survey, somebody said that I was far too liberal, which I thought was very interesting. On the Bartow 4D8 WDAE text line, the WNBA is fake news being promoted by woke media. The tickets are all being bought by woke corporations. It's virtue signaling. Is that, do you think the corporations are buying WNBA tickets to make it look more popular than it is?
I have no. I don't.
That is a conspiracy theory right there.
But you're right. I think it's going to go. Things are on runs. They go on waves. It will be interesting to see if there's that much attention with the WNBA this season.
I'll tell you this.
I would be very surprised if it was at fever pitch that it was last year.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I do believe that a lot of the interest in the WNBA is manufactured. Like when I can't imagine that I'm alone. I would listen to, and we've switched over to Fox Sports Radio now, and I like to.
I saw that.
Love being able to listen to Ben Maller on my way to work, although he's at a fill-in recently that hasn't been great. But I do love listening to Ben Maller. I can't wait for him to be back.
Always liked him.
He's good. I like Ben Maller a lot.
Overnights, how he's done for decades.
But I did like SportsCenter overnight a lot too, because I would get a lot of information from SportsCenter overnight. But I can't imagine that I'm alone. There are times where I'd be in my car and they'd be going on and on about the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark.
Not even just Caitlin Clark.
WNBA.
Just the WNBA in general. And I'd be going, God, can you get to something I care about? And I can't imagine I'm alone. I think most list, and we've had this conversation where I've said in the past, I don't even think women who are sports fans are more interested in women's sports. And the women who listen to this show, they will text in and say, we don't care. We're not watching the WNBA. We're watching the Bucks, just like everybody else listening to this station.
There you go.
We're watching it.
There you go.
Like they're Rays fans. Yeah. They're Lightning fans. Like maybe they don't. I'm not saying they hate the WNBA, but are they more interested in the W? Do they want to hear about it on SportsCenter overnight? Like I don't. Probably not. I don't believe that story was. Even though I would say it's the biggest story in sports this year, I do think a lot of the interest was a little manufactured. Although, clearly not completely if they're selling those tickets to the game just to see her jersey gets retired.
I like this one, D.A. Bowles. It's exciting has to be the top sound blurb of the year because
That's a good point.
From Todd Bowles. That was funny.
It is exciting.
I'm excited too.
Whoa, that had like
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was like reverb. Like,
Jinx.
I'm excited too.
Whoa. Oh, did you do it at the same time? Is that what happened?
I did. Yes, we literally played it almost at the exact same time.
Wow, I was like, where did that echo come from? That is really weird.
Yeah.
Wow. We had a lot of good ones, though. I think this one was last year, though, right?
Love you, man. Love the shit out of you, man.
Yeah, that was before I got here.
That was last year. That was before you got here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really?
I didn't create that one.
Well, you might not have created it, but I thought it was while you were still here. This was, I believe, this year. Some bull junk from Deion Sanders. Yeah. That was a good one this year. We had a handful of decent. I think this was this year.
No, I think
No?
that was here before.
Was that last year?
What was that from? What was that from?
People chanting "You sick F" at Deshaun Watson.
Oh, is that Deshaun Watson? Okay.
Yeah, that might have been last year,
Yeah,
actually.
probably.
Man, we've got so many good ones.
Well, we keep the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
Keeping the main thing is this year, without question. I would say it's exciting from Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles, let me tell you something, Todd Bowles, my brother.
That guy's, he's up there as well.
Oh, man, that was a great call.
But Todd Bowles, it's exciting. It probably was the best. What do we got?
We're playing for the Super Bowl, not the Pro Bowl.
That's my favorite Todd Bowles quote of the year. I said, it's funny because I had
He
said.
doesn't have many.
I said exactly that, Rock. Like the day before, we talked about how, and like, I don't care. To me, a head coach's job is not to be interesting. I'd love them to be interesting, but it's not their job. And honestly, if they give us coach speak, I do not care. It's fine with me, right? They're not there.
Results. You just want results.
That's
Pat.
it, man. Win football games. But I just made the point that you just made the day before that Todd Bowles does not really give you a lot of interesting sound bites or say a lot of things I found interesting. And a lot of times we don't play his audio on the show. And then somebody asked him about guys getting recognition, getting the recognition they deserve from outside the building. And he was like, they get the recognition inside the building. And then he dropped this one.
We're playing for the Super Bowl, not the Pro Bowl.
That was a great one. This was a good one from this year that we like to use when our friend Nick Wise is in studio.
There's a white boy from Detroit.
Jameis.
Jameis
Winston. His recognizable Jameis Winston. I think Chris Mathis's question Sunday was one of the best. And Bowles given that response about getting your head out of your asses for the DBs.
That was
and he
very
just
good.
he just broke up laughing, man. And that was good.
I think part of that is Chris Mathis.
His
Yeah.
delivery when he just like when he called Brady, call him Brady. No one does that. And he was just new here. Crack me up.
You think he's going to recognize this one, Casey Warner? Sound of the year.
No, don't think so.
I had no idea what that one was.
That was an interesting point in the year. That was, about 4 or 5 months ago, middle of summer?
Is that somebody on the show here?
No, that was somebody on a show. He has a show. And that was part of a live broadcast that he did not intend to be a live broadcast.
I know now. Unk. They kind of call him Unk.
They call him Unk.
I know now. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
that's Shannon
Boy,
Sharp. That's Shannon Sharp. Unbelievable. This is also one of the great quotes of the year that we like to throw in from time to time.
He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
Oh, yeah. We were referring to Alex Jackson. That was a great drop, man.
Oh, that is what it was. We would throw that in for Alex Jackson, Aaron's favorite player. Unbelievable. Yeah, there's been a lot of great sounds this year. There's been a lot of great stuff in Tampa Bay, and there's been a lot of, unfortunately, frustration when it comes to the ballpark. We can talk about that more as we go along. We certainly will. I saw this, though. It is the holiday season, and I wanted to warm the cockles of your heart. I don't know where cockles come from, but it's a great word.
Cankles, cockles?
It's cockles, right? Yeah, the cockles of your heart. I wanted to warm them. If you're a Buccaneer fan, you are going to love this next story. I'm going to tell you about a video, and I'll tell you where to find that video. A video that will warm your heart so much as a Buccaneer fan, because there's a video of Atlanta Falcons fans watching the final moments of regulation as that field goal was on the way. And when I tell you what happens next, you're going to rush to see this video because it will warm your heart for this holiday season.
WDAE and AM 620.
Pat Aaron, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. 888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard. You can also text your thoughts to the Bartow 4DA text line. That's 82945. Message and data rates may apply. Do you have a New Year's resolution this year? Is that a thing? I don't know if I do or not. I feel like there's a couple, maybe a bunch that I should have. I don't know if I'm actually going to have one. I don't know if they work. I feel like people are probably better off when they just decide, like, I'm going to do something for myself because I need to do something for myself to be better than when they're like, this is my New Year's resolution. I feel like New Year's resolutions are almost doomed to fail because they're New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I just thought about that the other day, and I was like, you know what I'm going to try to do? Write down some goals, or write down maybe for the month, and just try to accomplish it. If I write it down, I used to do that a long time ago, haven't done that. So maybe that's not necessarily a New Year's resolution, you know? Is there anything that you think that you want to do this year, Pat? I mean, that you're really going to put your mind to, maybe?
I thought your idea yesterday, our idea, as we were talking about me sometimes driving like a masshole. I tell people I'm a recovering masshole, and that's when I'll be in full recovery. When I get done driving like a masshole and losing my patience with every person who's not paying attention on the road, which is most people on the road today for some reason. That would be a good one for me, is to stop getting angry in traffic and to, like, find a way to just calm down while I'm driving.
That's a good one.
Dude,
that's a real good one, because you know it's going to happen here.
I'm never late. I'm never late for anything. So why I'm driving around like I'm about to be late, like I've told the people that listen, a lot of them know, I delivered pizza for 6 years back home.
Probably just habit.
And like I'm always driving like I got a hot pizza in the car, and I don't want it to be cold when I deliver it. And I don't. I'm usually early for everything because I'm so anal about being on time for everything.
Were you always like that? I find that
as long as
over
I can
the
remember.
Last maybe 10, 15 years, I hate rushing to be late. But I used to be. When I was younger, I'd always cut it close.
Really?
I don't do that anymore. You've always been pretty good about that?
I've always been really good about being on time, to the point where I'm really stupid early for stuff usually.
All right, that's good. Because I hate, isn't that the worst, when you're just constantly always rushing?
Yes.
Rushing to get there, and stress and nerves. And oh, man, I hate that.
Aaron will tell you, and Casey will too, like, I've texted them, like, guys, I'm running late on days that I'll beat them both here still. I'll be panicked about being late on a day that I'm still early, because I hate running behind. It's just weird, kind of like I don't know.
No,
I don't
that's
know.
worse. That's the worst.
One of my New Year's resolutions is to on the Bartow 48 text line. My New Year's resolution is to only soil myself once this year instead of twice. Sincerely, George Brett. Yes, if you missed that story earlier, it was fantastic. If you missed this, you can find it on my Twitter at Pat Donovan Radio. That's where you can find me on all of the social medias. This I retweeted this from Barstool Sports. You can find it there too, but a lot easier, I'd imagine, scrolling down at Pat Donovan Radio. Good. I did not see this video until last night, and when I saw it, I was like, this is holiday cheer for a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. This will warm, and I still don't know where the cockles of your heart are. But this will warm the cockles of your heart. This is one of the best videos I've seen in a while, especially because, you know what I dislike, Rock Riley, is
what is that, Pat?
People who have started doing, like, if it's natural, if it's organic, if somebody gets out their phone and catches you doing something and you don't know, that's one thing. But a lot of people have taken to, let me record myself watching the end of a game. Let me record my reaction to the game. It's almost as if them watching the game is more important, and them showing you them watching the game is more important than the game. It's kind of like the face painters at the game who are in the crowd, and the Bucs are down 3 touchdowns, and somehow they get put on the big screen and they're still flexing and going crazy. And even though the Bucs are getting their asses kicked, and it's like, it's more important to them to be on the big screen than anything going on.
Look at me.
And a lot of people have done this now at the end of the games, where they record themselves, set up a camera, set up a phone, whatever, and record themselves watching the end of games.
You don't do that?
No.
You don't have your wife do that?
I could not do that.
Oh.
I don't have to, like, that should be one of my one of my New Year's resolutions
Don't
is
do that.
more social media, get better at social media.
But don't
really
criticize.
I'll be honest, like you're a little older than I am.
Right.
I've made the point to Nick Wise and other people that like I'm not great at social media, as good as other people that have worked here and stuff like that at social media. And I'm always like, I'm an old man. I'm too old for social media. But you do a great job. You do an unbelievable job on social media. You're older than I am.
I got to do a better job, though.
Well,
honestly,
I've got to do
man.
a better job.
There you go.
But I shouldn't, and neither should anybody else record themselves watching the end of a game, except for Atlanta Falcons fans.
Oh, this is good.
Oh, this felt so good. And listen, anybody who watched the end of that game on television, it was hard to tell if that field goal at the end of regulation was good. I thought it was as well until they waved it off as bad. So did an entire sports bar of people in Atlanta. So there's a handful of phones out you can see, but this one guy's taping it. And as that field goal gets kicked, this entire bar, and again, you can find this on my Twitter at Pat Donovan Radio. This entire bar just goes into extreme celebration because they believe that this kick has gone through. And of course, Atlanta has won at the end of regulation and therefore was going to be in position to really win the NFC South with a simple victory this weekend over Carolina. They thought they'd be in the position the Buccaneers are in this weekend with a divisional game over a bad opponent to be able to win the division. And instead, they all, and it's the very end of the video where you see some of the people in the bar start to realize, wait, that's not good.
They're in horror.
Oh, God. It's so good. I've watched this video a handful of times. And I love it because, again, you see the people that are like, there's the one guy that goes to his knees, right? And he's got like his hands up in the air, and then the other guy runs around him with the phone. And like, you could just tell so much of this guy's reaction is the guy on his knees right here, Rock Riley. Anybody watching on the live stream, I'll put it up there for you too. This schmuck, you could tell that so much of his reaction is about the fact that other people are recording him. I bet you he doesn't know that much about Atlanta Falcons football. Like, those people are the people that care, right? And there are diehard Falcons fans like there are diehard Buccaneer fans. Those people, they're not looking for the camera in that moment. They're not looking to see who's videotaping him in that moment. They're just in full elation. They're not playing it up. They're not trying to like look good for the video. They're just in that moment, like we just probably made the playoffs on that kick. Like, they're in such elation. Those schmucks that are looking for the camera, I enjoy watching them fail.
Did you see the video of the Atlanta Falcons fan? He's a dude that's streaming. He's a younger guy, and he demolishes his screen. He takes the chair, and then he has like a bat, and he's just demolishing it. He cannot believe it.
Isn't it interesting that bat was right there and ready to go? I'm just saying. I
didn't think that.
I watched that video, Rock.
Yes,
I did.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
And my initial thought was just that. My initial thought was, I'll bet you money that this kid just got a new monitor for Christmas, right? He's like, I'm going to put up the new monitor for my live stream show, whatever the hell I do, talking about Falcons football with an F-bomb every 30 seconds, which, not that I'm the cleanest mouth guy in the world, but, you know, sometimes have something to say other than F. Like, I bet you he had his new monitor ready to go, and he's like, if the Falcons lose, I'm going to create a video of me just beating the hell out of this monitor because I'm getting rid of it anyways.
You know what? I did not think that. And now that you bring that up, there was a bat right there.
He's ready to go.
Right there.
Ready to go.
This is 2025, Pat.
Was that Casey? Was that the most Aaron Jacobson thing I've ever said? He's always cynical about everything.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, pretty close.
All right, we got a lot today. We've got our friend J.C. Allen coming up at 8:30. We'll talk a lot about the biggest stories in all of the land. But on the other side, we'll continue to get back into the top stories of 2024, especially here locally. Yeah. But I do want to get into this because I saw this story yesterday, and I was very, very confused about one of these names. But there are two names apparently already in play who are already getting ready to interview for the open New York Jets job. On the other side, we're going to tell you why it'd be great to see one of these guys get another shot, but not with the New York Jets, and why it would be great to see the other guy get a shot at all, and it's not why you...
on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
I want to get to this story on the Jets vacancy in a moment. I don't want to see any texts from you people. I'm going to go full T-Kraz on you. All right? This isn't because I like the Jets. If you know me better, you know I don't give a damn about the Jets. I just find this very interesting. But before we get into that, to continue on the topic of Baker Mayfield being one of the bigger stories in Tampa Bay sports this year.
Mayfield the best.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Buccaneer John. I knew he would contribute at the right moment if I just threw him on the air. Baker Mayfield's the best. Listen, the way he has taken over for Tom Brady has been really something, and I think it's hard to overstate the job he's done and how comfortable he's been in taking that role from a guy who's the greatest of all time, came in here and won a Super Bowl in his first season. I mean, what he did in that COVID year is something that I think should be remembered forever as one of the most special seasons ever. Just everything, when you combine everything we found out about that year, after the year, his knee wasn't right, his parents are going through hell, and he's dealing with all that, and he comes in here and wins the Super Bowl. To take his place and to take it as seamlessly as Baker has been pretty amazing. But in a way, you can tell that as great as it was to have Tom Brady and win that Super Bowl, I think a lot of Buccaneer fans and Buccaneer players even have gravitated to Baker Mayfield even more so than Tom Brady. And you could see why on Sunday. You know, you get a guy in Payne Durham who I believe going into last week's game had like 7 career catches because Cade Otton plays like 90-something% of the snaps when he's healthy, which he has been for the majority of his career here. So Payne Durham has not had a lot of opportunity in the offense. The last couple of weeks has become a bit of a part of that with Cade Otton out, and has done a really nice job. He scores his first career touchdown on Sunday, and I love Tom Brady in a lot of ways. I don't know that Tom Brady would have been an active participant in making sure that Payne Durham gets that football back after launching it into the crowd. And I think it shows a lot of who Baker Mayfield is. That, you know, obviously if it's a different football game, he may not have the time to go screw around and talk to security and get that football back. But it was a blowout. And he's like, you know what, let me go make sure. And anybody who's seen the video of what happened with Baker and going over to security and getting this kid down with the football, like, that's part of why we got to love this guy is you could just see how much he cares about his teammates in an act like that.
He is real. No doubt. No, that is real. And a lot of quarterbacks, they're the franchise. They're almost like the CEO. All eyes are on them. And for him to do that. Now, I'll tell you this. Jason Licht has said it is really hard to find a guy to replace the GOAT.
Yep.
Very hard to find. So what he has been able to do really is incredible. And everybody wrote him off. Oh, he's on the commercials. Oh, he's a bust. Oh, he's a Johnny Manziel wannabe. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, he's too small. Blah, 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 blah. And look at where they are because of him.
Do you think the Johnny Manziel comparisons, because we've talked about this in the past, Aaron and I have a theory. Do you think that the Johnny Manziel comparisons are mostly because, like, I know that the both of them had a lot of bravado coming out of college.
Yep.
But I still think it's because they're both kind of demonstrative. Like, if they don't look very similar physically, I don't think we get a lot of those same comparisons.
I agree.
Because if you look at the two dudes, who they are as people, it's night and day.
It really is. It really is. I really wonder if Johnny Manziel is to the point now where he thinks like, wow, man, I partied my way out.
Did you ever watch the special on him?
I did. You know, there has to come a time, don't you think? I know he's trying to play golf and he's trying to move ahead and this and that, but there were times where he would fly like to Mexico to a resort and he's paying for everybody and the girls are in bikinis, everybody's doing blow and he would refuse to throw a football because he didn't even want to throw and he's partying. Then I also saw him sitting in a bar at the NFL draft was going on and he was just sitting at a bar and it's on right there in front of him, and he's just drinking by himself. There was another time where he went to a tailgate at Giants Stadium, and he was out at the tailgate, and it was cold, and he's there partying. And just think, like, wow, a year ago he was in the NFL, and then they were throwing a football around, and it came to him, and No, and he threw it left-handed. He didn't want to even show. He's got it. Don't you think there will come a time where you think, well, man, I had a chance?
I think it's happened. I think there's no doubt there's some regret there. There would have to be, And listen, the guy in a lot of ways was just an idiot. But at the same time, I'm one of those people where I have a soft spot in my heart for idiots. I
don't dislike him. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just saying,
I don't dislike him.
For me, a lot of people look down on Johnny Manziel, and people like Johnny Manziel, and people that have made a lot of mistakes when they've gotten fame and notoriety and money early in life. And I look at a lot of those things. I like to believe that I'm very honest with myself about who I am, and I'm pretty confident. Had I had money, success, fame early on in life, that I would have effed up pretty bad. I like to party. You know what I mean? And given the opportunities to party like Johnny Manziel, there's a decent chance I would have found myself in a lot of those positions if I, had the right amount of success at the right time in my life. There's a lot of child actors or whatever it might be, people that get a level of success and they're just not mature enough as human beings to deal with that early on in life. I think a lot of people are not. I was 23 years old delivering pizza when my wife was like, hey, you got to figure out a plan for your life because I don't want to marry a career pizza delivery guy. And I was like, oh, really? I should think of something to do? You know what I mean? Dudes are idiots, man. I was talking to the guy. I had a little doctor thing yesterday. And I had to get the IV for something. And the guy's like, I've had a million dudes pass out getting the IV. And a handful of women, because we're idiots and we're soft and we're not that women are just better built for a lot of things than us, and including, I think, success in life early in life. A lot of men, I think, which is why when we kill these athletes for being that way, I'm like, well, how smart would you have been with millions of dollars at 20 years old? Because I know I would have effed up a lot.
The story that blows my mind is, he would go on home on a weekend, or say there would be a day or two off. They weren't playing on that weekend, or say it's the Monday into the Tuesday. And you studying, you studying your playbook? Yeah. Well, it was an iPad. It's a laptop. And they could see. He didn't even click on one time when he was home or away from the facility, man.
There's a handful of guys like that.
Oh, my. I don't know about now, though, Pat.
Probably not now. They're smarter than that.
Was I talking about this, or was with Aaron? So many years that I've covered the NFL, and it would always be during a bye week. Don't go back to your homies. Don't get arrested.
Yeah.
Be careful. You're away.
It's usually the after training camp before the
But it's not
preseason.
now. I'm just saying, how many players do you see now that get arrested, that really, really screw up? I think these young guys realize how great they have it, how much money they are making. I'll hear a lot of them say, man, I am blessed. I am blessed to be in the NFL. Seriously, I think they're actually more aware. I believe that. I
think they're getting better advice, and the partying we just talked about, I think that's come down a lot. I think that
I think so too.
It's not that there's not plenty of it. But to the extent Lawrence Taylor was doing a lot of coke and sending hookers to their opponent's hotel. I don't think that kind of stuff is going on at that level anymore. You know what I mean? Guys have definitely smartened up. By the way, I do want to get quickly into the Jets opening, as we mentioned before the break. If you didn't see it, apparently both Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan are scheduled to interview for that open Jets job. I have no idea why the Jets would want to revisit Rex Ryan other than the fact that Woody Johnson's a complete idiot. And because Woody Johnson's an idiot, and by the way, if you don't know if he's an idiot, he rejected a trade earlier this season, allegedly, because Jerry Jeudy's his Madden ratings weren't high enough for him to make the trade for him.
Jerry Jeudy goes, I don't believe it. He goes, I don't believe it.
It is hard to believe.
I don't believe that. I think they're just throwing Rex Ryan a bone.
You think
he's on ESPN. He said he's interested, and they must be like, you know what? We'll interview him.
When it comes to Ron Rivera, we've had Ron Rivera on the show a couple times now. We've met him a couple times out at Army-Navy game. one of the nicest, most genuine dudes. Like, I love Ron Rivera.
I can second that same thing. Talk to him at the Combine. Talk to him at Super Bowl. Yes.
Yeah, he's just outstanding. He seems as interested in talking to you as you are into talking to him. And I don't know how he could be, right? Like, we are not as interesting as Ron Rivera. But, man, is he engaged when he's just like an unbelievable guy. And I don't want to see him end up with the Jets. I want to see Ron Rivera, first of all, somewhere outside the NFC South where I can root for him to do well in his return to coaching. But it's just not a disaster organization like the New York Jets. I would hate to see that for Ron Rivera.
I don't know who would be. Who do you think would be a good guy? You got to go?
Jets?
Yes.
Somebody that really needs an opportunity, because otherwise, don't go take that job. You've seen it. You've just seen the way Woody Johnson runs that organization. It ain't good. I wouldn't want to coach there. Obviously, I'll take the job because I'm not qualified for it. But if I were, I wouldn't want to coach there.
What about Gruden? What if the NFL, they let Gruden back in? You think John Gruden, he didn't like young quarterbacks. He always liked veterans. Do you think he takes the shot with Aaron Rodgers?
With Rodgers? Yeah. I don't think Rodgers is back. I don't think with what's gone on between him and Woody Johnson, I do not see him being back. Okay. I'd be very surprised. All right, it's time to get a little weird. Casey, if you've been listening to the show, it's a very weird show. So I hope you're prepared to get very weird with us.
I'm a weird dude.
Situation Man is next. We're going to get
No,
Who you supposed to be?
it's your friendly neighborhood situation man.
That's right. It's time to get weird. It's time for Situation Men here on the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620 as we wrap up 2024. All right, let's get weird, Casey Warner. What do you have for us today?
Well, let's get weird. First things first, I got to hear an excuse from each of you all because I know you
An excuse?
Yeah, an excuse here because I know we're all up very early this morning and you all are a little bit riper in the age that I am.
That's
so,
a nice way to put it.
yeah,
Thank you.
If you don't make it tonight to New Year's, if you don't make it to midnight, what is a valid excuse or I guess weird excuse as to why you didn't see the ball drop?
I mean, just the day that I'm going to have. I got up at 4 a.m. Normally, I go home and I take a nap after the show by like noon.
Same.
Between noon and 2, I'm usually napping for a few hours before I get up and start getting ready for the next day. Today, I'll be going right over to Raymond James Stadium. Don't forget our pregame coverage begins at 10 o'clock with Nick Wise and Chris Mathis.
Yes.
But the Rely Quest Bowl is today, and I'll be calling that alongside TJ Reeves. I'll be the color commentator for that game. And so I'll be there until probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. So it's going to be a long day. If I don't get a nap in, I'll never make it to midnight.
Here's one that I've used over the years. It's it's for amateurs.
That's true.
I don't
My
need
dad
New
says
Year's
that.
Eve. Oh, see, I'm like the older. There you go. There you go. But my wife even just told me yesterday, she says, do you want to go to a party? She loves to see the ball drop. I was like, okay. And the people are cool. So we're going to go to a house party.
Yeah.
So I got to be ready. And I got to be ready and stay up that late and party tonight.
I'll tell you this, Heidi and I are partying, just the two of us. There's going to be lots of booze, maybe a little of other things from time to time. And then there's going to be,
There you go, man.
There's going to be college football
There you go.
playoffs.
There you go.
Starting at
Oh.
7:30.
Ooh.
Penn State and Boise State.
That's a good game,
Yeah.
man. There you go. There you go.
And that thing's going to wrap up around 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you only got an hour before
That's
the
right.
ball drops. And it's hard to go to sleep right after a great game. So hopefully we get a great game from Penn
Okay.
State and Boise
there
State.
you go.
I
What
like
about,
the
what
way
about
you
you,
think.
Casey? What do you got tonight, man? Are you going to try to do anything, or are you just
I got a
staying in?
long day. I mean, like I told you all before the show, I'm heading to the Rely Quest Bowl, so I'll probably see both of you all there at some point, maybe. And
Are you going to start partying during that game?
I am, yeah. I'm
Okay,
meeting,
so
I'm
you're not
meeting some
gonna make
friends
it.
there, so I'm gonna
You're gonna make
I'm
it.
gonna stand by the pirate ship and talk to some friends and have a good day at the Rely Quest
Good
Bowl.
for you,
I don't
man.
have a dog in the fight. I'm not rooting for Michigan or Alabama, so I'll probably get a ride there, get a ride home,
Oh,
and
perfect.
see how the day goes. You know,
Great. It's going to be great weather.
Yeah.
70 degrees. Beautiful.
You
man.
see this kid going through security, you better check his pockets. That's all I'm going to say.
man. All right. So
Here's the good thing, Casey. Anybody listening who may work in security, if they recognize you, they're goons, and they're going to let
yeah,
you
let's
by.
go, man. Hey,
You're
Fight Club.
good.
We're all of us are out here. All right. So next one, what was your meal of 2024 that you wish you could eat all over again if you could today? Your favorite meal of 2024? I know mine.
You know what? It's probably the Wagyu picanha that I made for Meat and Bone. And that's for me, like the stuff I've made at home, the Wagyu picanha, which by the way, I have one in my freezer. We're going to be doing that again very soon. That has to be for stuff I've made. Also, I'll have to give a little love to my favorite smash burger, which you know you've had.
Yeah.
I tried for the first time in 2024, Tower 10 Burgers. It's a food truck. My boy Patrick, he bounces around. He's at Magnanimous a lot on Friday nights, which they might make some of my favorite beers. So the combination of the two works really well together.
That's
It's been
a
a while.
win.
Been
That's
a
a
while,
win.
but Pat's all over the place with his truck. If you ever see Tower 10 Burgers, for me, my favorite smash burger in Tampa Bay. I love it.
We were out at sometimes it depends on if you did eat, didn't eat. I was so hungry. And we went as a family out the other night. It was at Eulalie. It was outside.
Oh.
The weather was
I
great.
love Eulalie.
The food was so great. The atmosphere. And I was also really, really hungry. Maybe that was it.
What'd you get?
And you know what I actually got? The meatloaf.
Okay.
And the seasoning
I'm not a meatloaf
on it.
guy.
No, it was unbelievable. And this, oh my God, with the mashed potatoes, with the vegetables, with everything, the appetizers that we had, it was tremendous, man. It was just a great night overall.
I don't think they have it anymore, but I remember we went for my birthday the first time we went to Eulalie, and they had it on the menu. They may still, I don't think they do, but they had it at the time. They called it the Kilo Porterhouse because it was exactly a kilo. It was 2.2 pounds, I believe, is a kilo. And it was this massive porterhouse. We sat upstairs, as you can at Eulalie, and we looked down over. They got the fire, grill. We looked down over it, and I could tell from up there, like, which one was my steak.
Be yours?
It was so enormous.
Nice.
That's great when they get the crab claws. What are the ones that are so hard? Is it stone crab that's so hard to get?
I think so.
When they have those, they're really good.
Yes.
But the thing that I believe is always on the menu that I love and is so unique to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, because it's Tampa Bay stuff. Yeah.
It's the Florida native chili. I'd have to look at the menu to tell you everything that's in it, but it's like every animal you can find is in this chili.
That's amazing.
Like, it is. You know what? I should look it up. It's so freaking good.
There you go. What about you, Casey?
Mine is Pat's Pine alla Vodka. That was
really?
I'm not even gonna lie, man.
You made it or your wife?
Me.
Oh, he makes. Yeah.
I make it for my wife on her birthday because she loves it so much.
I found myself eating it cold. I mean, you can eat it cold.
There
That's
you
how
go.
good
That's
it is. Like,
the
if you
key.
can eat pasta cold, I mean, you know it's good, man. Like, no, seriously. Shout out to Pat for that.
But the top one. That's your top meal.
No, really, because I had never had it before.
What do you think of that?
I'd never had it.
That's gonna make you feel pretty good,
I
Pat.
asked you, man. I was like, what is this, bacon in it? And he says it's the prosciutto.
Prosciutto,
oh, my
yeah.
goodness, man. Yeah. Well done, Pat. Well done.
So believe it or not.
Yes.
Believe it or not, I got the recipe for the penne alla vodka. Now I have changed the recipe to the point where I add like almost double of everything it calls for in the recipe.
You're the man.
But I got my original recipe for my penne alla vodka from the Sopranos cookbook. There's also a great Brajol recipe in the Sopranos cookbook. The Sunday gravy recipe in the Sopranos cookbook. All very good. By the way, I looked it up. The native chili at Eulalie. You're welcome, Richard Gosmart, by the way. Great guy, by the way. Alligator, wild boar, venison, duck, and ground chuck with cranberry beans. I've never even heard of cranberry beans. What the hell is that? Cranberry beans and chili spices. But alligator, wild boar, venison, duck, and ground chuck, all in the native chili at Eulalie. And I'm telling you, if you go there and you don't like it, I don't believe you. It's so good.
Yeah, I got to get that
You gotta start
ASAP.
this now, man.
Yeah, I know, right? That's awesome. We still got an hour of the show to go. All right, I got to get one more in here.
One of these
before we
days,
wrap
Richard's
up.
going to bring me on as an endorser. He sure as hell should.
Hey,
should have.
I would love that. Let's wrap up Situation Man with one more here. I think this one's kind of weird to compare, but it definitely holds a big place in Tampa Bay sports fans' heart. If you had to choose one beloved thing that we lost in 2024 to have back in Tampa Bay, would it be Steven Stamkos or the Trop's roof?
It'd be Stammer. I mean, the Trop's going to get the roof back. We will eventually see the Rays play baseball in St. Petersburg again.
I'm not. I mean, I hope you're right, Pat. You know, to me,
happen,
it's not
one way
a
or
done
another.
deal. For me, it's the
not.
roof. For me, it's the roof, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Get the roof. Because the Yankees said 1 year. That's it.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of former Major League players. They said with the union, they're not going to allow the Rays to play in a minor league stadium for 3 years. It's not going to happen.
I think they're going to end up fixing the roof. I think they're going to end up. It will be part of getting this stupid ballpark deal finally done. That will be. We've talked today, and we'll do that a little bit as we start the 8 o'clock hour as well. We talked today a lot about the biggest stories in sports, the biggest stories in Tampa Bay sports, and certainly the biggest story in Tampa Bay sports, as you said earlier, is Tropicana Field and the Rays ballpark saga. And all that we've gone through this year, from being told, quote unquote, here to stay, to the point where we are today, all the nonsense we've gone through as Tampa Bay Rays fans, absolutely the biggest story in sports.
Chris Lavala is one of the biggest sports names in Tampa Bay sports in 2024. Come on, you know it.
The biggest face turn in the history of face turns right here on this show.
Good wrestling.
I don't know if you heard any of that. But we went back and forth.
It was good. It was good.
And
it was great.
I told him he had a chance to make the greatest face turn, and he did it, and they came on this show.
I give him credit for coming on.
Oh, yeah.
After how you were with,
Listen, I'll get after you. All right? I always stand up for what I believe in. Like, I don't hate Stu Sternberg like a lot of people do, But when he sat down across from me after the Montreal thing, I let him have it. And I told him how foolish of an idea I thought that was. To his credit, though, he sat there and took it and had that whole conversation with me. But I will always be forthcoming with how I believe. I'll try not to be too disrespectful, but I'll bust balls, as you know. And Chris Latvala, more than willing to take the ball busting. So I appreciate him for that. But I think as we sit here a year from today, and we talk about the biggest stories in sports in 2025 locally, we'll talk about how that thing got done. I don't know how, and I think it's going to continue to be ugly for a little while.
Manifest it, man.
But listen, man, Rob Manfred is not letting the Rays leave. I think he's made that clear.
So
one way or another,
flew down here and talked to members of the St. Pete Commission, St. Pete City Council. How about that?
All right, when we return, I'm going to tell you what Jason Light's New Year's resolution needs to be and why it will lead to the Buccaneers being Super Bowl favorites in 2025 if he does it. That's coming up on the Pat and Aaron Show with Rock Riley and for Aaron Jacobson on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
The Player of the Night, presented by Rivard Buick GMC.
The Detroit Lions got their 14th win of the NFL regular season last night, 40-34 over the San Francisco 49ers, led by Jared Goff once again. Jared Goff is your Rivard Buick GMC Player of the Night.
An iHeart radio station.
Hour number 3, Pat Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Rock Riley in for Aaron Jacobson.
Happy New Year.
Yes, the last show.
New Year.
The last show of 2024. 82945 if you want to text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line. Also, you can call 888-546-4620. I said before the break, when we returned, we would tell you the New Year's resolution that our good friend Jason Light has, should have. What?
No. That's good. I remember Jason Light because I took a video of Jason Light walking after the win, and he's stoic and he's coming by us, and then he gives a big thumbs up, and I'm like, you know what? I got that video saved. I'll use that when I need to use that. And I just saw that this morning, so I didn't even mean to say something out loud, but I was just thinking of Jason Light.
I gotta text him one of these days and ask him when we're going out for beers. Like, you can't be going and drinking beers with Lee DeKemper if you're not going to drink beers with us. Is that fair? I love Lee. You know I love Lee. Lee's always there when I'm leaving after the post game. So Sunday, I'm leaving after the post-game show, and I always say goodbye to Lee on my way out because he's always at the back of the press box working when I'm leaving. Yes. I don't know how the hell he works so long. I do the post-game show for 2 hours after the game. There's still people like him and Catherine Smith and some others.
Yes.
They're still working when I leave. I'm like, I don't know how late you guys are going to be here. But I always say goodbye to Lee on my way out. And Lee says to me on Sunday, he goes, hey, it just dawned on me. You do the post-game show right here from the stadium. I was like, yeah. He's like, I don't know why. It just dawned on me.
Yeah, because he's immersed and he's doing like 15 stories and this and that. And maybe because you used to do it. Did you guys used to do it in the studio, or did you
never did the post-game show in the studio.
Always were at this
at the stadium for post-game, yeah.
Okay.
But so that was just kind of funny that 3 years into it, he's like, "Hey, you do the post-game show right from the stadium?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." But yeah, if you're gonna go hang out and drink beers with Lee DeKemper,
you got to drink
Jason
with Pat
Light.
Donovan.
You got to come drink with me and Aaron sometime.
I'll see him over there this week, so I'll mention it to him.
Hey, go drink with Pat.
I usually see him in the hallway. Yeah.
But I think he needs to have a New Year's resolution.
Okay. What would that be?
Buccaneer John, what should Jason Light's New Year's resolution be?
Super Bowl bound Buccaneers, buddy.
Well, you know what? He's right. And that's why I brought Buccaneer John in with his expertise.
Buccaneer John.
We've realized that just taking his phone call and like introducing him and bringing him onto the show, it just doesn't work. But if we just like throw a question out there and like turn on the phone, he's usually just talking to the show the whole time anyways. So like he'll just be answering us even though he doesn't know that we're talking to him. It's pretty brilliant the way that it works out. That's right. That's exactly what we do. Thank you, Buccaneer. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, Buccaneer
Didn't
John.
Didn't know he was on the radio.
Buccaneer John. Super Bowl, buddy. Super Bowl.
Yeah, we are.
See, doesn't know that we're putting him on the phone, but he's there. He's reacting. He's perfect when we just drop him in there. But he's right. The New Year's resolution should be Super Bowl. Obviously, they want to try to get there this year. I think, personally, I believe they're about a year away from being a true Super Bowl contender.
How fitting would that be? It's in New Orleans.
Oh, it'd be very fitting.
In New Orleans. The Buccaneers in the Super Bowl.
Listen, I don't think it's out of the question. When you look around the NFC, I don't think it's out of the question. But I do. I think they're about a year away from being ready to be true Super Bowl contenders. And I said before the break, if he commits to one New Year's resolution, Jason, if you're listening, I know he's usually at work by now, but if he commits to one New Year's resolution, I think he can make this team a Super Bowl, not just contender, but favorite as we enter 2025. And that is, we need you to invest in outside linebacker. Great to see Shaq back. He's going to be here probably for this run, however long that lasts into the playoffs, assuming they win on Sunday. But he's not a long-term answer. Chris Praswell, for the first time, looked great this past Sunday.
He graded out the highest of defensive players last game.
Yeah.
Remember, you brought up, I was like,
really good.
I guess he did. And then I saw the PFF ratings.
But he's been, overall for the season, a little bit of a disappointment.
No doubt.
And, I mean, it was his first full sack on Sunday. He had come in with half a sack on the season. It's just not enough for a guy that we need to be a big playmaker for us on the outside, because I think we knew what we had with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. That's a guy that's like, okay, he's not good enough at outside linebacker. I think Yaya Diaby, even though his numbers have fallen off this year from a sack standpoint, he's still good enough. Yeah. It's really easy to focus your energy on putting an extra guy to chip Yaya Diaby when you know they're not going to get any pressure off the other side.
Great point.
So I think there needs to be a serious investment once again. I know Braswell was a second-round pick, and we expect him to ascend. I don't care. I don't think you go in next year thinking it's Yaya and Braswell and we're good. I want multiple pass rushers this offseason, whether it be one early in the draft and a free agent signing, whatever it is. load up that outside linebacker position because you cannot have enough pass rushers in this league. We've seen the way the Giants in years past and other teams in years past have done it with a handful of really good pass rushers. Look what the Chargers were doing this year with 4 really good pass rushers. Like, you cannot have enough. And the Buccaneers certainly do not have enough. Invest heavily, in my opinion, in the outside linebacker position this offseason.
Too. And somebody good in pass coverage, a young guy.
But you can find some good inside linebackers in the middle rounds of the draft. It is not the premier position that outside linebacker is, at least in the 3-4 defense. In a 4-3, obviously, as you know, it's very different. That becomes the defensive end position. But pass rusher is one of the premier positions in this league. And it's hard to be really good. First of all, you can't be great defensively in this league anymore. I don't believe in it. I don't think you can. With the rules today, you have to hope to be pretty good and to be opportunistic. And you know what's going to make our defensive backfield more opportunistic? Quarterbacks being under pressure. Quarterbacks having to rush throwing the ball. Quarterbacks getting hit when they're throwing the ball. They need to invest in outside linebacker. I said this last offseason, and it did not happen at a high enough level. Chris Braswell and Randy Gregory, that was not going to be the answer to make this team dynamic enough from a pass rush standpoint. If they can get to a point next year where they're dangerous from the outside, not just okay, but dangerous from the outside, then look at how dangerous Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey become inside when you actually have some pressure off the edge. Then look at how much better your secondary looks when you finally have some pressure off the edge. Antoine Winfield Jr. will go back to making a ton of plays in the secondary. Like, you will have the entire defense would look so different if you just get some pressure off the edge.
You know who I thought would be a big concern and it would look in the draft next year? I thought all going into this year would have been a tight end. Not so much anymore. I think that Payne Durham has taken a big step. I think he's only going to get better. He was a lacrosse player. You see how little he actually has football experience? Payne Durham.
I did not know he's that.
Yes. He didn't even start playing football until late in life. So Payne Durham, I think Devin Culp is going to be, he could be pretty decent.
Fast as hell.
He really is. And you got Payne Durham. So with all the needs that they have, tight end for me is not one.
Listen, I will agree with you there. And I've said to Aaron all year long, I love Cade Otton. He's not explosive enough for me. I'd love to see a more explosive tight end.
I'll give you that.
At that position. But to your point, there are bigger needs.
Yes.
And is it a decent tight end or an explosive tight end?
Go defense, man. Go
or an
defense
outside
for
linebacker?
Me,
yeah, like let's invest in and you're right, defensive across the board. When you look what the offense is doing this year, I've made the argument just yesterday, I think it was, that if you play adequate defense, you are very, very difficult to beat. Adequate defense. And again, if you can do some things over the offseason, because listen, I'm hopeful for this season. You get in the playoffs and you always have to be hopeful. But the reality, in my opinion, is they're not there yet. They're probably a year away. But that's the difference between, in my opinion, going into next season as a Super Bowl contender, because we should expect some ascension from a lot of the young players on this football team. We get a lot of rookies, a lot of second-year guys contributing. So I do think guys that are here already get better. But you still need to address that outside linebacker position. And if you do, I think we're going to see a defense that gets significantly better, and then you become not just Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion, but Super Bowl favorites.
Real quick, we have a texter. What do you think, Pat? I've heard this a lot. Would you give up a number one for Max Crosby? A number one?
It'd be a great question for Jason Light, only because he has a much better understanding of the salary cap than I do. I don't know that that's a guy you can necessarily afford.
And they like picks. Number one, to give up number one.
Yeah. That said, if Jason Light and company, they think, hey, we can make this guy, we can make an offer to this guy and extend him at a rate that is team friendly, because that's what the Bucs do. They do such a great job of making sure that they don't sign guys to contracts that are going to kill this team. Even Tom Brady didn't get a contract that was going to kill this team. That's why they've been able to stay competitive since he left. So it can't be, hey, let's just throw everything at this guy. But if they think we can afford him, I would give up a one for Max Crosby. I think he would be that
he doesn't like to give up
game-changing.
draft
no.
picks, man.
Well, listen, I don't know that Jason Light would give you that answer.
No, that's
but
what I'm saying.
I would
okay,
certainly.
I just wanted to know what you thought.
I would certainly consider it. We'll get more into this conversation. Adam in Newport Richie, hang right there. We'll take your phone call after the break. We'd love to get your phone call, but just out of time right now. But just hang right there. We'll get to you after the break. Want to remind you, we're done. We're off tomorrow, but we will be back on Thursday. And just like us, our friends from the Florida Orthopedic Institute, one of their doctors will be back with us talking about some of the biggest injuries in sports. But as much as you care about the biggest injuries in sports, the injury you really care the most about, if you have one, is yours. And I know a lot of times when you're injured, you're just kind of hopeful that you're going to get over it. We've all done that, but don't do that. You've got access to world-class orthopedic care right here in your own backyard. So why would you just hope that something that's been lingering goes away when you can get it taken care of by doctors who know what they're doing? And that's exactly what you get when you work with our friends at the Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. And making that appointment, that's easy to do. Just call 800-FL-ORTHO or go to floridaortho.com. All right, Adam, you're leading off on the other side. More on the Buccaneers and more on 2024 as we wrap.
620.
Pat Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Rock Riley in for Aaron Jacobson today. Aaron will be back on Thursday. We're both off tomorrow for New Year's Day, and then Thursday it will be the first ever Dignitary Thursday. As our friend Ian Beckles will join us for the entirety of the 8 o'clock hour every Thursday starting next week. I did mention as we started out this segment, we would let Adam join us from Newport Richie if he held through the break. 888-546-4620. If you want to jump aboard, you can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line is 82945. Message and data rates may apply. Adam is in Newport Richie. Adam, good morning.
Hey, Pat, how you doing? And Rock, it's a pleasure to talk to you, sir. I've listened to you many years. I just never got a chance to talk to you, so
it's my honor.
To you, sir. So,
thank you.
Notice he said it's a pleasure to talk to you, but not me.
Go right ahead, Adam.
No,
Thanks,
I talk
bro.
to you all the time, Pat. So Pat, here's the thing. So you and me talk a lot. I'm an Eagles fan, okay? So here's the thing. With the Bucs, I think they're about 2 years away. The reason I say it, you got to draft the linebackers. You got to draft and find hidden keys. Like with the Eagles, we had nothing on defense forever, and it took 2-3 years. We drafted, all the bulldogs, so to speak, Dean and Carter, and it takes time for those guys to fully develop. But then, Jason Licht, honestly, I think behind Howie Roseman, which I know how much you hate the Eagles, but I know how much you respect Howie Roseman and what he does when it comes to finding the right players.
Yeah.
I think Light is right there behind him, and it's like, we got this guy from the Saints, Zach Bond, in the offseason as a free agent. Nobody even heard of the guy, and he's been NFC, and he's a linebacker, outside linebacker. He's been NFC Defensive Player of the Week twice. So it's like Jason Light knows what's out there, and I think he'll go out and get it. It's just a matter of you got to build through the draft and develop your own homegrown guys, if you will, kind of like the Rays do with, pitching all the time. But I think that's what they need to do, and I think they'll be right there because offensively the Bucs are awesome. I mean, they have all the weapons. It's just a matter of maybe even a defensive scheme change or something. You know what I mean? Because if you can get some pressure from the front four or the front three, depending on how the Bucs do it, that sets up the linebackers to make big plays and to stop the run. And if you want to blitz, you could blitz. You know what I mean? It gives you more options. So thanks, guys. Have a good day, okay?
Thanks, Adam.
Good call. No, I mean, he brings up some really good points.
Yeah. I knew Nakobe Dean was going to be a good signing for them, man. I was so mad when they drafted him.
But Jason Light credits, I think it's the longest running staff under him in the NFL. And it really helps because that way they don't have to train. Here's the Buccaneer guys. Here's the kind of guys that we like.
Yeah.
So he gives a lot of credit to the staff. And Jason, because Jason can take the credit. But honestly, there's that part of it.
No, they have an unbelievable staff upstairs. What they do with the salary cap and the scouting department,
as long as they can keep Greenberg. Yeah, because
it's getting tougher and tougher every year. People know. People certainly there are rarely guys in that role that you really know a lot about. And you got to give credit to Jason for that to an extent, right? That he doesn't mind sharing the love a little bit. But Greenberg and those guys upstairs, Spy Tech, what they've done here for years, they've done a great job with the salary cap and with this roster. And I saw, was it Luke Easterling? Somebody brought up a great point.
Yes, he did. I saw that too.
Was it Luke, right?
Yes, it was. When you look at it, though, really, they have done the homegrown guys.
Oh, yeah.
It isn't like a lot of name free agents that have come here and have helped this turnaround, or not the turnaround, continuing after Brady. It's a lot of the draft picks, really. And look at the draft picks this year. Honestly, and now Braswell finally had a good game. But oh my God, man, they hit on a way more than most do in this past draft.
Luke's looking a little Jesus-like recently on X. But here's what he tweeted yesterday. I thought when I read it, I was like, that's a really good point. He said, Jason Light, and I've mentioned this before about, everybody says, oh, well, if Tom Brady never came here, blah, 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 blah. Well, Tom Brady came here for a reason, and Jason Light's part of that reason. And this is the tweet from Luke Easterling at Luke Easterling on X. Jason Light, and he did this, by the way, quoting a video from Dan Orlovsky, where Orlovsky says the Bucs have some of the best young talent in the NFL. And Luke Easterling said, Jason Light built the roster that made Tom Brady say, yes, that's where I can win a Super Bowl right away. $80 million of dead cap after Brady retired and still won the division, nailed the Baker signing, and keeps dominating the draft. Where is his executive of the year?
No, it's a great point.
It really is. Let's get to Ryan in Tampa really quickly, and then JC Allen joins us on the other side. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're
Good.
well.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year and happy holidays to you guys. I was actually calling for, this reason for roster building for 2025. And I'm the one who texted you about Max Crosby because I go back to 2019. We brought this guy who won a Super Bowl named Shaq Barrett. And that following year, he got 19 and a half sacks. And he's just a veteran leader on the defensive line that came in and made a huge difference. I think we need a guy like that. That's why I was saying I'd be willing to get rid of a one for Max Crosby.
Me too.
Plus, I was looking at the salary cap numbers. In 2025, we have just north of $25 million in cap space available. Then you go to 2026, we have $106 million projected to be open cap space. So there's a lot that you can do there. I know we still got to sign Tristan Wirfs and things like that. But we have the youngest roster, one of the youngest rosters in the NFL. So
Tristan Wirfs got his deal last year.
That position. So I think it'd be a good opportunity to put a vet in that position. Get maybe you could bring back Levante, then go draft a outstanding linebacker for coverage. There's a lot of good ones out there. I saw the one from Penn State. He's really good. And the one Anthony Hill guy from Texas is good. So I think Jason Licht is executive of the year in my book. I don't care if he's executive of the year in anybody else's book.
Great phone call. And by the way, just so you know, Tristan Wirfs, August signed a new deal.
Yes,
so
he did.
he is he's locked up. So that money that you were talking about, it's available. And Ryan, thank you for the phone call.
Made him the highest paid tackle
ever, right?
Ever. How about Antoine Winfield Jr.? Highest paid safety ever. So
I always laugh at the ever thing.
I know.
Because it's always ever.
Yes.
The
right.
next guy who gets paid is going to be the highest paid guy at that position ever.
I know.
But they throw it in there because it sounds good. They make it part of the announcement, like highest paid ever. And it's like, well, of course, he's going to be.
I got you.
But no, Tristan Wirfs, very, very deserving. And listen, Max Crosby, deserving as well. So again, if the Buccaneers could make that happen, could make it, financially feasible, which it sounds like by the salary cap numbers, it may just be. Yeah, I'd be all about it. I don't know that the Raiders are in a rush to go trade Max Crosby this offseason, but if it were available, I would certainly be into it.
on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Pat Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. It's wrapping it up 2024 with Rock Riley. Aaron Jacobson is off to see Fish in New York. He'll be back on Thursday as we begin the new year. And joining us right now, our good friend J.C. Allen from Sports Illustrated. Of course, find his work as part of Bucks Game Day on Sports Illustrated. And always find him on X at J.C. Allen NFL. J.C., good morning. How are you, my friend?
Hey, J.C.
What's going on, guys? How we doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
too,
to you.
buddy.
And we'll all be heading to Raymond James Stadium in a little while for the ReliaQuest Bowl. We'll see some guys who could end up playing at Raymond James Stadium next year. But we were talking about the Buccaneers, and I made the point that as we started the hour, JC, I thought what could make them not just Super Bowl contenders next season, but even maybe Super Bowl favorites is if there's a serious investment in the outside linebacker position. Now we had a caller bring up, hey, the salary cap opens up, especially after next year for the Buccaneers. They're going to have some money. They've already re-signed a guy like Tristan Wirfs. Would you trade a one if it was possible for a guy like Max Crosby? What do you think about something like that? Is that realistic this offseason for the Buccaneers, or are they going to find another way to find somebody who can get pressure off the edge?
Yeah, I mean, number one priority's got to be a elite edge rusher that can create matchup nightmares on his own.
Has to, right?
They've needed that for a while. The problem is, they are going to have some money, and I do expect Jason to spend some money this year, but they also have these amazing draft classes that they're having continuing to come up for contracts. So Luke Edicky's eligible, Kate Otton's eligible, Zion McCollum, Rashad White, Logan Hall, all these guys are eligible for contract extensions. I think out of the group, you're probably looking at Luke and Cade as number one guys. So you're going to have to continue to start paying your own guys this money if you want to keep them around. The Bucs have done a great job at keeping their own guys and bringing them back. You look at last year, or this past offseason, that was kind of the motif, right, is let's bring our guys back. The year before, it was let's play the Brady Bill. So, Todd still hasn't had an offseason where it's like, all right, open books, let's go spend some players to make your defense better or make the offense better. I think they'll do a little bit of spending this year, just with the opportunity ahead of them. But edge rusher, to me, whether that's through the draft or whether by trade, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, whether it's looking at someone in free agency, has to be a huge priority for this team this offseason.
JC, looking at this game Sunday against the Saints, I know it's the NFL. And
Rock's nervous. You got to make him feel better.
I am. But honestly, looking at it with Spencer Rattler, looking how bad the Saints are, if the Buccaneers don't turn it over, I just do not see how they could actually lose this game. What do you think? Give me how you see this game playing out, JC, Sunday.
No, I'm right there with you. But we do know these Buccaneers, and they like to make things hard for themselves. Last year, they had the Panthers and beat them 9-0 to win the division. So, while I think a 14-point margin is what the Bucs should probably win by, and that's what Vegas has them at. I always say division games are the worst any given Sunday games because this opponent and there's bad blood there that goes beyond just winning a game. That said, the Saints are terrible. I just don't see a way that they can pull this off unless the Bucs literally give them the game. Penalties. I mean, the Commanders the other day had 14 penalties for 145 yards. 2 turnovers. It's got to be that kind of game from Baker and the Bucs, and for the Saints to have any chance. They've been playing a little bit better discipline on the offensive side of the ball as far as penalty goes, with a holding, false starts, etc. But I just don't see a way that the Saints can overcome this giant obstacle that is the Bucs offense.
Good, I feel a little better. Good.
I'm going to throw you both a curveball here, too. It could make us feel a little better. We've been talking about it the last couple days, JC, Rock and I have. when you look at the last two times the Buccaneers blew someone out, Giants 30-7, and they come back the next week and they didn't look very good against the Carolina Panthers, and then they blew out the Chargers 40-17, and then the next week they came back and they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. Could that actually benefit them on Sunday? Could Todd be reminding them, hey, the last two times you guys blew someone out, you came back with a lackluster performance? Is that going to be the tone this week is, hey, make sure you show up 2 weeks in a row, please?
Yeah, don't overlook anybody. I mean, even the guys the week of the Cowboys game, they were talking about that Broncos game, we can't kind of get sucked into that trap. We can't overlook these guys, these opponents. We can't feel complacent. And I think that Cowboys loss humbled them as far as their win streak goes. And I think everyone's locked in this week. There's no overlooking an opponent ever, especially an opponent against the Saints, where they are literally trying to just play spoiler to your season. But the fact of the matter is they don't have Kamara. They don't have Carr. They don't have, Taysom Hill. They don't have a lot of their weapons. Chris Olave. It will take a monumental screw job by the Buccaneers for the Saints to win this game, I feel like.
All right, JC Allen, NFL is how you find him on X. And again, you find his amazing work at SI Now's Bucks Game Day coverage in Sports Illustrated. JC, always appreciate your time, and we will talk to you again next week.
Sounds good.
Leading up to a playoff game, right?
Oh, there you go. Have fun.
JC, I think you thought I meant tonight's playoff game. No, hopefully leading up to a Buccaneer playoff game next weekend. We'll find out who they're playing, of course, on Sunday once they take care of business against. And I think the last two times coming out and falling short against a couple of teams after blowing someone out could benefit them in a way that they just, they're locked in this week because they're like, we can't have back. And you want to go into the playoffs feeling like you're ascending. You want to go into the playoffs playing your best football. You don't want to screw around with a team that you know is ready to go home and give them hope. Like we said about Sunday's game, I said, don't allow Carolina to feel like they can ruin your season going into the fourth quarter. Same thing with New Orleans. Make sure they know when you're coming out of the half, this thing's over.
Rattler last week, Pat, against the Raiders in the first half, he was 11 for 13, 146, no sacks, trick play touchdown, 170 total yards, no turnovers. He had an RPO first play, 28 yards. So it was one of those things. I'm like, no, don't let Spencer Rattler, please. In the second half, he was bad. He was 3 of his first 13 in the second half, 2 picks, 72 yards. And they don't have anybody.
No.
On offense, they got an interim head coach. They're done. So
they can't wait to be done.
They're done. So let's go. And then the home playoff game, and here we go. How about the Lions? Scare me, though. Last night with Dan Campbell, he played all of his starters, man.
Yep.
And they look really, really, really good.
Can't overlook the Lions or the Eagles or really anyone once you get into the playoffs. But you also, this Buccaneer team, I think, can beat anybody in the playoffs. They can lose to all of them, too. And we've seen this team on weeks this season look like they don't belong at all. And then we've seen them during weeks this season where they look like they could be as good as anybody in football.
I am excited.
We'll see who shows up for the playoffs. When we return, Casey Warner will catch us up on anything we may have missed during today's show.
95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
The Blender.
The Blender on the Pat Aaron Show is brought to you by Mazda of Clearwater. If you're thinking about a new or pre-owned vehicle, make sure you go check out my friends at Mazda of Clearwater. Right now, you can drive a new Mazda for 90 days with no payment and with interest rates on the way down. Many of the models are at 0% financing. It's a great time to go see my friends at Mazda of Clearwater. Also a great time to get caught up on anything we may have missed during today's show. It's The Blender with Casey Warner. Mr. Warner, what have we missed today? By the way, don't forget, I'm sorry, sorry to cut you off. Before we get into today's stories for The Blender, 10 o'clock, just about an hour from now, Nick Wise will be alongside our guy Chris Mathis. They'll be doing the pregame, halftime, and postgame show from the Outback Bowl. Kickoff is at about noon with TJ Reeves and myself.
Yes.
Don't miss the coverage beginning. We have not started the pregame this early in years past. Great pregame coverage beginning at 10 o'clock with Nick Wise and Chris Mathis as we get you ready for the ReliaQuest Bowl, an unbelievable game with Michigan and Alabama, two of the top storied programs in the entire country, right here in our own backyard this afternoon for the ReliaQuest Bowl.
I caught that Outback Bowl drop. Did you hear yourself say that?
Did I say the Outback Bowl?
The first time you said it, you said Outback, but then you corrected yourself.
See, you know why?
That was a great pitch. That was a great promo, too. He was cutting a hell of a promo.
Yeah, I blew it. Rock and I were talking about the origins of this game.
Yeah, right.
At some point during today's broadcast, TJ Reeves will probably tell the story about how this game began in Vegas. And
Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it has evolved into the ReliaQuest Bowl. I won't lie, I love the ReliaQuest Bowl. I do miss unlimited steak and chicken in the press box.
Oh, wow.
Unlimited.
That sounds incredible.
I ate a lot of steak at those games.
Man, I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. All right, so I ran a poll a little bit earlier in the show today, last hour, and it was, assuming the Bucs win the NFC South, who do you most want Tampa Bay to host in the NFL Wild Card playoffs?
Casey, I have a New Year's resolution for you.
Yeah?
When you run a poll during the show, mention it during the show.
All right, I got you. I can do that. That's easy enough. New Year's resolution number 1.
All right.
Mention polls on the show. There we go. So the choices for the poll today were Commanders, Packers, Lions, Vikings. Commanders at 47.6%, Packers at 33.3%, Lions at 14.3%, and Vikings at 4.8%.
Okay. I would have thought maybe Packers.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think? Commanders scare me, but you're saying a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, it's going to be different.
Even
he's
though
not quite ready yet.
I mean, I think he's not ready yet, but I don't know. Jaden Daniels is special, man. That kid is really special. And whether it be the Hail Mary play we saw earlier in the year where they won late, or what they did just this past weekend against Atlanta, which we all love, we don't want to see that against us. He's a guy that is built for the moment. You can tell, even as a rookie, he is built for the moment. Is he ready for a playoff run? I don't know. But I still look at Washington as one of the more favorable matchups for the Buccaneers.
I agree with the fans, though, as far as the Lions. Even last night, you see the play calling, you see what Ben Johnson, you see the trick play, Jared Goff, Dan Campbell. I agree with you fans, man.
Yeah, Lions and the Vikings are going to be an absolute nightmare to see in a potential first-round matchup, no doubt there. Going over the bowl games that are happening today, of course, we got the ReliaQuest Bowl kickoff at noon. That is at Raymond James Stadium. Then at 2 p.m. on CBS, you can catch the Louisville Cardinals taking on the Washington Huskies. That game is at 2 p.m. Washington is an underdog by 1 point in that game. And then at 3 p.m. on ABC, you can catch South Carolina against Illinois in the Citrus Bowl over there in Orlando, and then a couple more to finish off the night. At 3:30 on ESPN, you can see Baylor taking on LSU in the Texas Bowl in Houston. And then, of course, we got the big quarterfinal Fiesta Bowl tonight. Number 4 Penn State taking on number 9 Boise State at 7:30 on ESPN. Good slate today, fellas.
Yeah, that's the one. Very excited for the ReliaQuest Bowl, especially as a guy who's rooted for Michigan for most of my life. That's going to be a great one this afternoon, but we're all waiting for 7:30. The college football playoff game is, and to get that kicked off tonight and then have 3 more tomorrow, we're in for a great couple days of football.
Boise State cannot pass it. They've got the best running back by far, maybe in years, and Penn State is also very good against the run. I think Boise State will hang in there. I think it's going to be a good one.
And the current spread on that game tonight is 11. Penn State is favored by 11.
I think Penn State might cover. You're 100% right. Boise State can't throw the football, and Penn State's pretty good against the run. I think. I mean, Genty can't do it on his own. The kid can't do it on his own.
So freaking good.
He is really good. I mean, they were talking on my way in. The show I was listening to was Ben Maller, but somebody was filling in for him.
Yeah,
and they were talking about how some of his worst games this season, he ran for 128 yards.
No,
that was just slow.
Yeah. He only ran, and it was bad.
Only ran for 128 against
I heard
this
that
team.
too against Portland State. That was his lowest total. So that was actually impressive on their part. An FCS school holding him to that little. But
hell yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, should have been the Heisman winner.
Yeah. No, listen, I still think Travis Hunter is a different cat, and I understand why he got it. Well, he did something that guys just don't do.
What, all that stuff about his girlfriend?
Yeah, no.
Oh, my God, he's getting so much play, and everybody's coming out of the woodwork. Oh, my God.
But
whatever. Happy New Year!
Playing that many snaps on both sides of the football, I think is pretty impressive, and playing both sides well. It doesn't happen, so I think he deserved it. But hey.
She's been playing both sides. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year
to all the goons and to Aaron Jacobson in New York and to Casey and to Pat. Thank you very much, man, for having me on. It's been outrageously great.
We love having you, Rock, and we love all of you. And of course, as we always do, especially during the holidays, love to think about all of the men and women around the world who are still serving our country and not at home with their families. We love you so much. We thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do to allow me to be a moron for a living. Sorry, Mom. Not the rest of you. Get really drunk tonight, but do not drive. Be safe. Make sure you're smart. Want everyone around for the new year. Until then, we'll talk to you. Make sure you listen to the Relax Quest.